So right now, please let me hand over the word to the chairman or managing director or managing partner of Neulogy Ventures, my friend Stefunko, that will join us to the next roundtable about what opportunities can IoT bring to the business relationships. Ivo, the stage is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much. So consider this roundtable as started. I hope that we are going to have a little bit more of audience in order to have so much predominance of the speakers. Okay, so let me welcome you all the speakers which we have now. We have 7 of them. We have 1 hour and 15 minutes. So if you count it well, there is not much to add from each of you, but we are going to try to structure the debate in a way that everybody is going to speak about the topic which is interesting for him or her. But for the beginning, I would like to start by the introduction, and since we met only today, I would like you to introduce you to the public. So can we start by you, Emma, and just a very short introduction, what you are doing, why you are here, and if you know it.
So, hello everyone, my name is Emma Park. I work for Sigfox. Sigfox is a French-based company. We're an IoT operator, the first global IoT operator, and I'm responsible for network operators in Europe. So, and I've been asked here today by the French embassy.
Hello, my name is Jozsef. First of all, thank you very much for the possibility to be here. I represent a company called Hepenix. We are based in Hungary. We are custom machinery makers, which means that we deliver assembly and testing machinery for the nuclear and automotive fields. As compared to the startups present here today, we are a little bit different. We provide a working traditional layer of machinery, but we are developing on top of that solutions for integrating that machinery and providing several services. Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Jiri Laznicka. I'm from Orange, Slovakia, so I can speak Slovak to all, if you will understand me. I'm not sure. So I'm responsible for IT and services, including the IoT, which is a very, very interesting topic in the last 2-3 years in Orange. So as I will have some presentation after, I believe you will stay. I think that you can learn something.
Good afternoon. My name is Milan, and I work for a market research company called IDC. I'm based in Prague, and so we are researching mainly the information and technology sector, and I'm covering the IoT research program for Central and Eastern Europe. So we are looking at the adoption trends of the various use cases in the countries of Central and Eastern Europe. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Rolf Reimenschneider. I work in the European Commission in the DG Connect part. I'm coordinating the so-called focus area on Internet of Things. We are mainly interested in supporting infrastructure support for large-scale pilots, but also building an ecosystem, an open ecosystem around these infrastructures. So that's why this event is very interesting for us as well. And we work in partnership with an industrial alliance called the IoTI, Alliance of Internet of Things Innovation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Olivier Rouxel. I'm from the Directorate General for Enterprise at the French Ministry of Economy and Industry and Digital. We are involved at the DG in the main strategies of led for industry, and I focus on IoT, and so we will talk a bit later about this.
Hi, Olivier Padiou. I'm the Group CEO of Valtech. You've probably seen me this morning as keynote speaker. So we are investing a lot in the IoT, as you've seen, both in B2C and B2B. So I'm really pleased to be here today for this roundtable.
Thank you very much. My name is Stefunko. As I've been already introduced, I'm managing a very little, in the European context, venture capital fund in Slovakia. We are investing in companies, and we have also in our portfolio some IoT-based applications or companies. So, let me start by a very simple, probably stupid question, but you have to understand that you are not speaking between each other, but you are speaking to the public, which is more let's say, not very specialized in the IoT. And my first question would be, what exactly the IoT for the B2B is? Because normally, broadly speaking, the IoT is perceived by the wide public as a gadgets for the public, you know, for just to play. So, what exactly the B2B IoT is? Can you each of you speak about that? And then I know that you have some preferences about some specific questions, so I'm going to ask you about them. But the first question would be for all of you. So Emma, you have a privilege. Yeah. No. Ladies first.
So okay. IoT B2B, well, it's about solution selling to enterprises and cost optimization, improving, adding value for their customers. Sigfox is a small part of that overall solution, and it's about partnerships with business customers.
So in your specific case, what is it exactly?
So we have a lot of, we are a B2B operator. We have a lot of customers today. We have typical solutions would be security solutions, where Sigfox is used as a backup connectivity to 3 GSM, 3G, 4G security alarms. Why is Sigfox used? Because we're very robust technology, robust to jamming, which is a big problem in the security industry. So it's a typical use case where Sigfox connectivity is low cost, reliable, and cannot be jammed, and adds value to the company we work with in Europe is called Securitas Direct, which is one of the biggest security companies in Europe. Very sure in the Nordics. I don't know if they're very present in here, but it's typically a use case that we apply across the security sector.
So IoT means Internet of Things. So which is the thing in your business? The thing.
The thing in this use case. In this use case, it's the alarm. That is
what is it?
It's a security alarm in a household that has a capability of being upgraded to listen to Sigfox protocol and use the Sigfox network. This is what we did with Securitas Direct. It was just a flash upgrade, across the way upgrade, and so that's the thing is the alarm, and the way to enable that alarm is the Sigfox connectivity.
Thank you. Finally, I understand. Okay.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Please.
Okay, so I would formulate this as an order at a higher level. The companies that we deliver for already have a very high level of order in their workshops. They keep delivering for customers where reliability is key, quality and reliability. And this IoT means that their machinery, their production can have new parts at an affordable price that communicates, that wants to communicate actually. Because IoT is revealing a new world of things that do not only capable of communicating, they want to communicate, they want to transfer data. And that's how you can minimize the manual interactions in this production process and also lag times in this production process. And that's order. Things would mean, in this case, any component that is built into a machine that can have a state, and then you can get information about that.
Okay, so the key word here is that it's not only able to communicate, but want to communicate.
Want to communicate.
Okay, great. Thank you. Please.
Okay, so Orange is a kind of platform provider or provider of ecosystem. So there is many use cases that customers are solving. I think that for any business, it is about solving very, very basic issues. So they are solving some business problem that they are simply not able to solve without some device, some measurement. For example, you are in a hospital, there is, you want to instantly measure the temperature of patients. It looks like very simple, but it's not that simple because you have to ensure the connectivity, you have to ensure the accuracy of the measurement and so on. And this is very basic use case. I can imagine in industries much more complicated use cases. So this is about basic issues, and for Orange as a network provider, also data collector, and say ecosystem provider, it's something like to provide those businesses with ecosystem to improve their business, to reduce the cost. Okay, this is, in my opinion, very defensive. It's rather about improving the products that they are providing to their customers.
Okay, and what exactly are you doing in Slovakia in the IoT sphere?
Okay, so we do have in field more than 100,000 say devices that we are let's say connecting to for our business customers, so they can maintain the connectivity, they can let's say improve their business. There is a lot of smart metering devices in the field, for example.
Okay, good. Thank you. Mr. Kalal?
So IoT means very many opportunities, and they are very different from industry to industry. If I would give you some simple examples to better understand, so take fleet management. This is something which everybody knows. It's a solution which exists already for a long time. And
even before the word IoT was invented.
Yeah. And so in the old days, it would be basically tracking the location of your vehicles. Now with IoT, you have the vehicles equipped with various sensors that are online monitoring the functionalities of the car. So the engine system, the brake system, and therefore you can prevent any breakdowns because the sensors will tell you that there are some anomalies, and you can put the car in the garage in time before it breaks somewhere on the highway. In addition to that, IoT is now implemented to monitor the performance of the drivers. So companies are actually making contests who will be like the most efficient driver, and it was proven that it can dramatically save the fuel consumption because the drivers know that they have to be driving responsibly. So that's one example of how what's the use case of IoT. The second one, which is also very clearly understandable, is the remote monitoring of elevators, lifts. This is also a solution which is being widely deployed, and so now the elevator providers not only install the hardware, but they are also offering you the service of 24/7 monitoring of the elevator, which also is equipped with sensors that are again analyzing if there are some anomalies in the elevator, and call for a mechanic, even themselves, without having you locked in the broken elevator.
Or whether it is somebody very important waiting for the lift or not, because it happens to me that I'm waiting for half an hour and do not come back. So probably.
This I don't know.
Okay, in the future. Okay. So, what the EU thinks about the Internet of Things, Reimenschneider?
Yeah, as a public authority, I think we did funding of research and innovation for Internet of Things since 2005. Particularly in components, we talked about smart dust. So what we see on the market, the components get cheaper, the sensors get cheaper, it gets affordable for you as a private person in your home, for farmers, for people in the automotive sector. But we still don't see that it really takes off. So we still see niche application, in particular if you look at the home, but also for new industry. If they want to install it, it's a hell lot of complexity. So if, for instance, you as a private person or a farmer, as a more industrial person, if you buy the sensors in the infrastructure, he wants to know what is the added value, what is my benefit from that. So he didn't want to take care about connectivity. It's technical, it's boring. He doesn't want to take interoperability. Also, that is not his case. But he wants to see, where is my added value, where do I have a gain, a benefit from that one. So what we see is that, on the one hand, to develop IoT solutions for each sector is too slow and it's not effective. So we're promoting platforms which are cutting across different sectors, with generic components which can be used for smart cities, for smart farming, but also for home. And we also promote that the user would be able to collaborate with other people from the supply chain and from technology chain. For instance, the farmer, if he puts money into the infrastructure and has the sensors, how you collect the fruits or whatever, this data is also available for the customer. Because if it's a organic farm and you know how much pesticides are used and what's the condition of the growing, you get an idea of the quality of the food. So you link the data from the source to the consumption levels. The same for home. If you have a sensor closing the door, it has different functions. It has a security function, and it has a function to save energy. So the customer, you don't want to install two sensors, one taking care that the windows are shut because of energy saving, and one sensor because of security. So we need this cross leverage of the infrastructure, we need cross leverage services, and we need really cooperation across different players of the value chain. That's our main message.
Thank you. So just keep the microphone for a second. I'm inventing another question. Since you and Mr. Rouxel, you are representing some kind of public sphere, do you think that the EU or France could have some kind of competitive advantage toward other regions in the world within the IoT sector? Could Europe be the leader in this field?
We see in Europe that we have a strong technology base with new research institutes and universities, and also particularly from the components, Milan and electronics. Europe has a strong force in the area of system engineering, safety critical systems, high design of complex products. So now, coming with IoT, that more and more data is shared across the different value chains. We have the ingredients, but I think the big risk is fragmentation between the member states, the regulatory environment, because we want to have objects to operate in all member states equally, and we have risk of fragmentation in terms of industry. That one industry is implementing one solution, and other parts are implementing competing solutions. You lose momentum, you lose speed, and you lose critical mass for driving the innovation.
Fair enough. Please.
Okay, so for the first part, IoT is not a new thing as a whole, because 8 years ago there was already a conference on IoT under the French presidency of the Council in Nice, and at that time people were trying to define what IoT is. It was not really easy, but things have evolved, and I think that a bit like M2M at that time was technology with the aim of improving productivity of companies, of improving their or getting better processes. I think that IoT is a bit the same for IoT B2B, I mean, except that we have new things like the connectivity and the dedicated networks for IoT, and also with the sensors Rolf was mentioning, which have spread and whose costs have gone down. I will take two examples of what IoT B2B might be. There is a project we have financed through the competitivity clusters in France, which is dedicated to predictive maintenance, and they have built a little device, and through this device they managed to improve the overall maintenance of the factory by the figures I have in mind is 99% of the operational level is maintained, the lifetime of the different equipments has doubled, the cost of maintenance has been reduced by 15%, etc. So, and maybe productivity has increased by 1%, which is big. And about the bridge between IoT B2C and IoT B2B, I take the example of Parrot, which is well known for those drone and different games. And they have they are through one company acquisition, which was building. It is a Swiss one, which is building drones for business to business. They are shifting to this area, and they not only sell drones, but they also start to develop devices and sensors they will put on board the drones, and they are also going to the service layer. So it's a global strategy for them towards what we call the precision agriculture. About the fragmentation.
Second question.
Yes.
How France or EU could be the leader in this?
I think that we have all the ingredients. It's true for innovation, for technology, etc. We can see one part of it, but it's not only B2B. Is the size of the delegation of French delegation to the CES since a few years. What might be useful to go further than or find new devices is to help historical industrial companies understand what the potential is really for their own business, because some inside those companies who are quite techies understand it, but they have difficulties to sell the idea to the business units and even to convince the top management. So I think that there is a lot to do in this field.
May I add something? We had a quick chat before on the break, and you mentioned, also in France, inside France, you have a bit of fragmentation. And we know that from other countries as well. We know, for instance, as a good example, Sweden is quite dedicated to some of the industries like automotive. Or the Netherlands is very dedicated to support their agricultural industry. But France or Germany, we have quite diverse industries in strength, and also strength of the regions. So what we see as a good example is Germany, they did a perfect marketing on Industry 4.0, what they call Industry 4.0. Now everybody does marketing, everybody wants to do Industry 4.0. It's not a uniform approach, but still, we have an alignment between regions, local players, clusters of SMEs, even startups, big companies, to follow a new vision and to change something, which is a good exercise. So we try to promote that exercise together with France and other members, and also in European level.
We might speak about good examples and cooperation in the next minute. So Olivier.
So the question was? So Internet of Things in the B2B market. I can just say a few words. We are in an economy where the business is always on. I mean, the sun never sets in our activities, right? So when you are in a B2B type of business, and when you have opportunity to optimize, analyze, let's say, the type of activities or services we're providing to our partners, there is room for IoT. Then there is also a need to study more precisely the economic model, and as we say, based on, let's say, price, critical mass, etc., it worth, let's say, to implement a solution like IoT to again optimize the type of services you're providing to our clients. So to just give a kind of insight globally about the reason why IoT could be of interest for any B2B activity.
Okay, so I'm not sure I still got the answer to my question, so I'm going to reformulate it a little bit, and I will explain afterwards why I'm doing that. So, where is the bigger market? In the B2C, the business to customer, or into B2B? Or can those B2B services develop, or new product developed in the B2B market lead to the B2C implementation, or it's vice versa, or it's both way? How is it?
I mean, for example, what I've presented this morning about the OD cases with the Aiken box, etc., is obviously, the same technology that are used by insurance company or fleet company to, as you were mentioning, to just manage more precisely, the fleet, and to have this kind of B communication, let's say from the truck to the company with all of the sensors we have mentioned to optimize the performance. So yes, definitely the type of experience you could do in a B2C could resonate well also precisely in B2B. And to be honest with you, the technology used are exactly the same. So
that's why the topic of this panel is useless, because B2B and B2C is probably the same. Or
it's very intricate. B2B means also that potentially one of these companies selling directly to end consumer, and another one is servicing this company to optimize the services to end consumer. So yes, it's and you see cross-pollination between these two activities. So try to summarize activities of B2B only on the B2B perimeter is probably a little bit too small.
Okay. So it's not useless, we are continuing the first part, okay.
Maybe I can add something.
Yeah. So feel free to now to interact between each other, and I'm good.
Okay, for the, according to HP, for those who manage to evaluate the B2C market and the B2B market, inside the IoT, I think that there is a common shared view of the B2B market being the one which will offer the biggest value. But on the way that solutions appear, and I think that the B2C is still very quick and innovative, and the solutions which are being developed for B2B solutions. Okay, but
yes, there's a little trouble. If you think of a car and a car window, so normally and quite traditionally he collects data from the machines, not just to see if the machine is performing, if there are problems, there are technical problems, just to support you in using the car. And nowadays, the technologies we have, these machine data have a lot of personal information. So if you use the machine data and you know to see whether there's a problem with the car and might stop, you will send an alert to the user. But then if the user is quite under pressure, he has to go to the airport or he has to go to his wedding, don't send the message now. You completely confuse him unless it's really critical. So which means machine data and personal data, consumer services are quite intertwined. So you cannot separate it. Also, we have heard that from building automation. If you only collect the data from building, energy consumption, analytics, whatever, nice, it's all changing the data. But part of this data has a lot of personal information. You need the user in the loop, and then you can create much more added-to services. So the two sides we have what we call multi-sided platforms. And we see that these consumer platforms, like the Android or the Apple, they move to traditional industries. That's a big risk for Europe, but also it's a huge opportunity for the industry.
Yeah, just to add a comment about what you were saying about typically a car where you collect a lot of data and obviously performance data or potential risk that could come soon, and this is quite disturbing, as you say, to send this information to the driver, and there is another opportunity to make it happen. And by the way, we are working with a luxury car manufacturer for doing something like that, which is as soon as we get this data about potential problem, as soon as the person has been able to park his car, a supplier will come, will fix at a certain cost the car, and it's going to be totally transparent for the customer. So it's at the very beginning, it's in the B2B, B2C, let's say, type of environment, but at the end, it's a real B2B services that will be developed. In this case, for luxury cars, because there is a certain cost associated to that, but that is definitely related to IoT implemented in a car.
Okay. I have one other question which I did not ask you in the email, and I have another B2B business case. I mean, for all the gadgets and machines which are just being built, probably there needs to be some kind of infrastructure improvement. So, for example, data, antennas, Wi-Fi, internet coverage, and all those things. So and also the security which has to be improved. So is the world or Europe prepared to all this load of information and data and so on? So Mr. Laznicka or Mr. Kalal, probably you are those who can answer it.
So it's true that the connectivity is a really basic part. So if those devices are not connected, you simply can't provide Internet of Things.
So we still need origin.
So I would say so, yes. And maybe to add, so it is very basic, this connectivity. So I think that all the businesses should start thinking about connecting all the products they produce, even bananas. Okay, maybe it looks crazy, but if you put some sensor on banana, you could know where it is. You might maybe somehow sense if it's still fresh, if it should be sold, if there is a sticker of your brand on the banana and banana is not fresh, maybe it's harm for you. Okay, those crazy ideas I think are in mind of people in those companies, and you still will need to connect banana. So I think this connectivity is very basic.
Okay, so and are the operators working on this, like strengthening of the infrastructure, and are you investing?
So it's a core business for the operators to provide the connectivity. It's true that at the moment there is coverage almost everywhere. You can connect anything you want. It's true that there is some problem with power. If you have some devices for a long time somewhere outside in the field, it's difficult to maintain it charged. So that's why there are new technologies. For example, Aura. I'm sure that Emma will add Sigfox, which allows those devices to operate for a very long time. So, I don't know, 10 years. You can have a device somewhere in the field working for 10 years, providing you basic data you need. And this is what all telco operators understood. So we are complementing our current networks with new kind of networks, for example, Aura, which allow them to create different use cases for the businesses and also for customers. And this is not only about the connectivity, which I think is very basic, it's also about collecting of data and to keep them secure. Collecting of data is very natural for telco operator as well, because we have to know where are devices, if you are able to go, what is the behavior of the device, if the connectivity is from this part of the country or from other part of the country. So all those data are already connected, are already collected and somehow processed. So if you will process a bit more data, which are rather more natural, like temperature or location, it's not really big stuff, so we can do it. Those data about your position, we are not somehow propagating to the public, so I think that those data are currently very, very secure, and it is very important for telco operator not to provide data to other parties.
Okay.
Which I know that some companies maybe in the world are providing those information.
Okay, Emma, about security, and then we are going to Mr. Kalal about the overview. So what about the security? Is the world prepared?
So I'm just going to say a little word about connectivity as well, because the oranges pitch lower, so I'm going to pitch Sigfox. It's only play. That's what we do. Sigfox is an operator, an IoT operator, so we provide the connectivity. We have a low bit rate on the connectivity. We're just aiming for the very simple use cases in IoT where the device, it sits a long time, and thank you very much, we're a low power wide area network, so our devices can last for 10, 15, 20, even 25 years, and they just sit there sending their 1 or 2 messages a day or a month. And we feel most of the IoT simple use cases will be addressed by our type of connectivity. As for security, our network is, we don't see that we're blind to what goes over our network as Sigfox. Generally speaking, it is a major question, security, especially personal data. I'm not an expert in the field, but from Sigfox point of view, we're completely ignorant to what is in that data. It's what comes off on the cloud and the API. They take the data and treat the data. So our value is in the connectivity in our business model, and the customers that use that data with the devices and the overall solution, that's where they have the value. And they use that data. They can cross-fertilize the data. We had an experience in Antwerp where several players like insurance companies, water companies, municipalities were limiting their data, cross-fertilizing and seeing what added value they could get from sharing that data. So it's the first step towards data sharing and cross-fertilizing data, which is what you were saying earlier about where the value is and how we optimize that.
Okay. Before you speak, I have another question in the industry side, and especially like we are speaking about security in the nuclear sector and so on. So how this industry is prepared for the security challenges and so on?
I can make everybody relaxed because the industry, especially the nuclear industry, is very reluctant to receive those improvements, and they don't really need to receive those improvements. At the end of the day, everything has to work. So the main difference between B2B and B2C is that for B2B, you cannot stop a company. If you stop Mercedes, that's the biggest problem that you can do in the automotive industry, for example. You have to roll out products each day as scheduled, and so B2B and IoT things there can only be overlays on top of something truly working. Reliability of these networks is very important, and they cannot be compromised. I think it's an overlay that gives you the possibility for operational excellence. Just to give you an example, in the automotive industry, our reaction time is negative. That's the best reaction time because we were on site before the machine broke down. And that's something that happened only because of choice. Right now we have the tools to make it happen each day if it is necessary. For the nuclear industry, they don't really need it because they have very close supervision on the machines already. They can get new tools for that, but they can do even without that. So that's reassuring, I think.
Okay. Kalal? What about the general overview?
So, we have been here speaking about the various aspects or components of IoT, and I think everybody on stage understands the holistic overview, but just let me make sure that also everybody in the room understands. So IoT is not something that you would be able to ask like one provider to deliver. It's what we call like an ecosystem of different components. So you need some hardware, some sensors that will be collecting the data, and some connectivity partner that will be collecting and transmitting the data, and an IoT dedicated platform for processing the data. And on top of that, there are various applications for the different purposes that the IoT solution would be doing for you. And most importantly, when a company is thinking of deploying an IoT solution, you must understand that it will be creating huge volumes of data, and therefore you also need somebody in the company capable of actually working with the data. So now what's the main critical aspect of IoT is the lack of data scientists working with all those terabytes of data that your company is collecting every day, so that you not only have them and store them, but also get the value out of the data, which is where the return on the investment from IoT comes.
Okay, so there is another lack of infrastructure is in the education field that probably universities have to provide more people.
The HR aspect of
HR. Okay, good. So we are in Bratislava, in the heart of the B4 cooperation, the group of 4 countries in Central Europe, and this panel is or this event is organized by the French embassy and so on. So what is the bridge between those 4 countries and France, or between East and West? Where do you think that the cooperation should go forward, or in which line it should follow? For example, I know that, for example, in Orange, it's like a urban story here that Orange is testing some of their things here in Slovakia on the local market, and then spreading it out for the whole Orange world market and so on. But there are many other practices. So what could be the cooperation? I mean, I'm a venture capitalist. We are investing in companies, and the basic characteristic of Slovak companies is that they are very good technologically. They have a lot of invention, but they cannot sell, they cannot present, they cannot deploy. And we just made a merger with a French company, which is super good in selling, but their technical solution was not the best probably. So we made a merger, and now it is going to be probably the leader in their field. So I mean, I cannot really say what is the case yet. We did not announce it, but this is so. This is my experience. Do you think that there are some other possibilities how to make those bridges? Mr. Laznicka?
I can start. So yes, it's true that in many cases we do have new technologies from France. In my opinion, French people are very, very innovative. I believe they will not hate me if I say that they are not really in the mood to complete the task. So they rather create the idea, they prepare something that is working, and at the end there should be somebody who will complete the task and to make it live. So I hope that it is not the end of the tunnel for me. But
you have the embassy, the Orange man.
Okay, thank you. If I'm fired. Okay. But anyway, I will try to continue. So what we are doing, it's quite exciting because we get something that is really not on the market. We can use it. Slovak market is good because it's not that big. We do have quite a homogeneous environment here.
If it doesn't work, nothing happens.
I don't think so, but we can be careful and we can complete the task before it's launched. Okay. So, I think it's also related to IoT area. If I should get back to the topic we are discussing here, there is really many use cases in the field in all of the world because of the Orange footprint, where we can get some inspiration and also something working. Really, it's true that in Slovakia we are not that far. We are rather focused on connectivity stuff and providing those devices to collect data, not completing the end use case for the users. And this is something that Orange is trying to do right now, to provide the kind of end-to-end solution. It's been said by my colleague that as a customer you should select some partner for connectivity, some partner for data. You should maybe find somebody to provide devices for you. And so I think for customer it's very difficult, complicated stuff to put it together. So it should be intention for all providers to create end-to-end service, not a for product, but one service that end customer can use. And okay.
Mr. Rouxel, so what do you think about this question? So
it's not a very easy question, but maybe some ideas. One of the enabler for deploying IoT into companies is confidence, and I think that we might launch something which would look like a kind of label of, let's say, protection of data inside the solutions which are developed for this business. Because companies, it was said, want to have their data protected. There is stakes of intelligence, competitive intelligence. They want the data of their customers to be protected as well. So I think that this might be one of the enablers which could help the market to go to full deployments. And this, I think, cannot be done alone by France or by another country. I think maybe we could gather our strengths to push in this direction. Another idea might be to come and visit facilities we have in France. I'm thinking of the City of Connected Objects, which was inaugurated by President Hollande last year in June, which is located in Angers, near Nantes, and which offers facilities of prototyping, of testing, etc., for the companies and the solution providers who want to build connected objects and solutions. I'm thinking also of the Connected Camp, which is an accelerator based inside the IoT Valley, who was mentioned this morning. And another platform which answers, by the way, I forgot, the way B2C market can push ideas to B2B, to IoT B2B. It's called Connect Wave. It's based in Aix-en-Provence, and the idea is it's an experimental and usage platform to understand for the companies who are thinking maybe what can IoT give us. And so they can see in different usage technologies which are used in B2C, for example NFC, for example RFID for anti-counterfeiting for the one, and they can try to ship them to their proper works. So maybe organize a kind of round trip to see those facilities.
So no specific ideas of cooperation, but just meeting together and
it is the first step, yes.
Okay, good. So everybody would like to go to France and taste wine and eat some cheese, but probably the EU could have some point about that.
I think I would agree to my colleague Olivier that because the complexity of IoT, because you're going to do it alone, you need to work in partnerships. There's a strategic importance of these open experimental platforms. So I think this morning in the panel they discussed innovation hubs. What is it? So we have the idea that on the one hand we support large-scale pilots, which have flexibility of up to 20% of the funding budget to third parties, to people who have an idea who want to test their ideas. And we see the idea that the principle of having sort of an experimental platform which is open to startups, to small companies, just to test the solution, to test the interoperability and to see what is the added value for the business model. It's very, very important. And we go cross-cutting applications. I mentioned that, for instance, smart cities. We have a program in UK on the Smart City Catapult. We have cities like Santander or Amsterdam who did already large deployments. So we want to connect these cities, and we want to have an open component that other people with their ideas can come and contest it. We have the idea to have satellite pilots in other countries, like in Slovakia or in Poland or in Hungary, or benefit from best practice in France. We see that in the smart factories. You have smart factories in Germany and like in Stuttgart for the IPA. That's replicated in UK and via the FTC. An open factory model. If we have a maintenance solution, try to see what are the legacy issues to connect it, what is the added value, how to collaborate with those players over there, and how to test it. Or we have farming in, as I mentioned already, in the Netherlands and in Serbia. So to replicate what's good and to have to promote in the region, that they invest in this infrastructure, that we have open experimental facilities.
So, but are those countries, the V4 countries, specifically active in this area of cooperation, or just they are, like always, observing?
France,
Sorry,
France is definitely active in many of the areas.
Okay, and what about those countries?
And we've heard already this morning that Sigfox is active in the connectivity deployment. We heard that SMEs are very well connected, and the startups are very well connected to Austria or to Germany. And that's an important part, to have the innovators with their new ideas to connect themselves, to look where can I find possibilities to test my solution, where can I have entries of market, and where I can connect to the community.
So can I add something here?
Please.
Thank you. Because Sigfox, our business model is based on partnerships. We believe that partnerships is the way forward in IoT. So we have partners to deploy our network. So our partner is here today, the Czech Republic, SimpleCell, and in Slovakia as well. So we're looking for partners in Hungary, if anyone's interested. So we have SimpleCell over there, there's Peter, and SimpleCell over there, SimpleCell Slovakia, SimpleCell Czech Republic. So the partners, the local partners, they deploy the network, and they also stimulate the local market, the local ecosystem. So we have Sigfox from a corporate level, have maker tools, we have a specialized team that goes into each country, and we've already been in Czech Republic. Is that right, Jan? Yeah, once or twice? Twice. Where young startups, students, anyone can come along and test the technology. They have a development kit. So it's a real example of how we're using partnerships and our local partners to get access to technology and start testing and playing around with IoT.
Okay. So, does anybody else from the panel have an idea about the cooperation between the V4 countries and France or Western Europe? And then we can go to the question from the public.
Maybe one more comment, as we discussed already yesterday.
Okay.
That I think that Slovak companies are quite active, but they are not able to find the customers in Slovakia or in Czech or in the countries here. Maybe that's why, because the businesses are not that mature. So they are simply looking for more simple solutions than Western Europe. So if you are asking if we are active, I think we are. Cooperation between Slovakia and Czech Republic is quite good. I think even the incubators here and in Czech Republic are hosting both. So, but still the main innovations are coming from abroad.
It's just to say a little bit more about our yesterday's discussion. Our experience as a venture capital fund is that a lot of ideas which are created here have no chance to be tested here, especially not on a large public like in Orange client base, but they are not customers for the high-end solutions. So, for example, our company has to find a client in Spain, implement it there, and when it is successful in Spain or in America, then it can be implemented in Slovakia. So that's some kind of like very funny situation where Central European high-tech companies have to be successful abroad, and then they can find clients back home. Okay, so we have the first question from the public. What do you consider the best IoT use in healthcare that is commercially successful or cash positive? It has 6 quotes, so people are interested in this answer. So, do you have anything in mind?
I know about one use case, which is quite nice. Even we did it with one company, which is company that is providing home care. So they provide devices for seniors or for people that can be outside of the hospitals. They should measure temperature or some other, say, important life functions. And this is maybe it is successful because of the regulations. In France, there was the regulation that this home care is paid by the government, but it's been found out that those people who are home, they are not using those devices. So the company, when they had to change their business model, they had to cooperate more with us to be able to switch on devices based on the customer behavior.
So that one of the, for example, diabetes sensor is like very widely used in the world now and connected to the internet and commercially successful. What do you think?
We have a similar successful use case, which is home care again. So old people staying in their own homes, and they have a box. It's an alarm box, it's a temperature sensor. It's a successful use case. It's been ordered by a municipality in a region in France, and it's also used as a smart card reader for external services coming to visit the old person. So help nurses delivering meals. And they come along and they clock in and clock out, basically. So the municipality has improved the invoicing of those external services, where they're relying on sort of timesheets, etc. So that's I think that's one of the successful use cases we have at the moment in this field.
Yeah, so healthcare is actually an area where there's a lot of IoT being tested and even deployed. So, probably the most known use case is the remote health monitoring, like the remote monitoring of the pacemakers, which is already being even funded by the health insurance companies, for example, in the Czech Republic and maybe other one. But also interesting use case is technology which is deployed in Holland, where actually the person that is being that has some accident and the ambulance comes, receives this bracelet which just starts measuring the time since he has been serviced, so that until he goes to the hospital, it is monitored how long time it has taken, and for example how quick the resurrection needs to be.
We are receiving many of those business plans, and I find them super great and life-saving even, but I think that there is a problem of regulation, either the state regulation or the EU regulation. So what about the state or the EU helping or even putting barriers on this implementation?
I think we had a discussion with a company called IMIND in Belgium, which were also part of the group of wearables in the Alliance of Internet of Things. And they say, well, if you go for a health device, it's a hell lot of headaches to go through the certification, because it's different in each member state, it's regulated through the healthcare systems, and it takes at least 1 or 2 innovation cycles on top of the product development until you go to the market. So this is the one side, and I guess on the EU level we're working on that, but the progress is compared to new technical innovation on the market is very slow. The other thing what we see, and there's a chance for the IoT, is that any of the IoT devices which have a smart watch have a lot of more information on your status, on your personal well-being, and on the health status during the night, during the activity monitoring, whatever, that you have much more rich information in these consumer devices. So the big question for the next future is, can you merge the consumer data, which you have on your private device, and match it to the health record? And that's a challenge we're posing, which is not certified by itself, because it's coming with your own data. You bring on the data, and you have to make it accessible to the doctor in order to adapt the cure and the treatment. And that is an open challenge we want to raise in the next year.
I mean, probably what I know about it, especially in the medical sector, the US is much more advanced in the sector. They are like offering this HIPAA compliance and so on. There was a company, Mentigram, just pitching here, and like they are doing that for 2 years, and it's not even thinkable to apply it in the European Union or in the countries, because they think that like an iPhone cannot solve psychological problems. That it's not about it.
Healthcare is quite difficult because when you have data which are, let's say, anonymous, it's okay. When you come to personal data, it begins to be touchy. And when you reach the top level, like medical data, then it's very complicated, and it involves exactly different regulators. And an example of the way stakeholders are very cautious about this is the famous French say connected object company Webins, dedicated to in English maybe it's healthcare, but in French they be careful to they call in kind of well-being objects, not to dive inside this very difficult area.
Regulated.
Yes, and they have been bought a few weeks ago by Nokia.
Okay. Okay. So any other answers on this particular question, or we can follow from one? Okay. So there is an anonymous question: IoT or IoE, Internet of Experience. So Olivier, that's about you.
Nice question.
It's you who asked this question. Huh? I saw you typing.
I'm not typing. No, I was definitely hearing what my colleagues were saying. Yeah, sure. I mean, we mentioned it. I can't just say, yeah, it's part of, but I mean, an IoT is supposed to provide a complete full experience, whether in B2B and B2C, so yes, it makes a lot of sense. So, just one basic comment about healthcare, because I wanted to ask, to add something about, let's say, the different comments about how to make it happen, etc., the regulators. We could have different triggers that will push forward, let's say, having IoT installed at home, making this test, etc. And particularly in different countries, we could mention, for example, a country that is currently leading Europe. They have some issues, as you probably know, in managing the urgency. NHS is facing big troubles, and it means that they could envision everything just to make it happen the right way. It means a triage that could help, let's say, people to get to exactly where they need to go based on what they could have. And a part of that could be also related to having the right IoT to make the first measurement, as we said, analysis, etc. And even additional applications that could help the people just to make the first diagnosis and then go to the right points. Because there is no other way to solve the main issue they do have with the urgency. In France, it's quite similar. We're also facing some trouble in this area, knowing that in the next 10 years, we're going to have 25% less doctors in the country. So when you have this kind of amount, it means that there will be a place in France where it will be very difficult to have the support of any doctor to cure yourself if you have a kind of crisis or anything else, which means that also there is potentially opportunity here to have part of the first diagnosis that could be put in place through IoT services.
So there is the last question from Slido, and then we are going to ask some people from the public. So IoT will also connect vendors who didn't have the chance to work together before. For example, web developers and hardware companies. Do you think this will impact the EU business? It's like a very broad question.
Maybe a German comment on that one. I think it is a fact that no company to sell already can implement full-scale IoT solutions alone. So they need to work in partnerships. And we see that on a worldwide global scale. I think big companies like Intel or Jiri have engaged in partnerships. They have these alliances like the Open Connectivity Forum or like the Industrial Internet Consortium. So they have to work in partnership, and that will change the business. So the way the business is created, it will change the way the value is created, and the partnership will redefine the business values.
Okay, but again about the contrast between big American companies and European companies. I have had the opportunity to be the headquarters of one big European company, and they were trying to just cooperate with one like European startup, and they said that it's like superior product is great, but we do not have the experience of acquiring a startup. So either we are going to copy you and make it inside our company, or we are going to I don't know, give you some money to develop it for us. But so that there is not this kind of like partnership. You mentioned Intel. Intel is very, very often buying companies or Google and so on. The European big companies do not have this tradition of acquiring startups. So there is not this kind of ecosystem. So what?
It's true, but it's happening. It's happening slowly. We see that the Airbus, instead of implementing the new industrial revolution themselves, they better give it to a startup. Let's try it out as a test phase, and they engage with it. They have a huge startup program in order to try it out, that we can combine new manufacturing techniques like additive manufacturing and to integrate it in their production chain. We see that big companies like ABB and Bosch, they created the home automation. They had a small startup called Mosaic in order to see what is the business case, how do they develop, how they confirm. I think they also started in France on home automation, where they have support from Schneider Electric, and that is just to develop technology and see how the development will be marketed and the service delivered.
So you see it as a positive trend in the future?
There's a trend, although it's not heavily aggressive like in the US.
Okay. Some other comments? So you can ask...
maybe a very quick example, because Schneider Electric was quoted through a partnership R&D program. They have in France, in terms of France, near Nice, they have built a solution which gives connectivity to, but not connectivity for their purpose, but connectivity to electronic cars to follow their process of fabrication. First, and then once put inside modules, which have other functions, they use this connectivity through our RFID chip to keep information which will be very useful for SAV. So yes, there is a shift, a slow shift.
So,
just another element, I just wanted to add that, and I do live in the USA, by the way. USA are also very good on telling their own story, in the sense that they are promoting aggressively what they are doing with startups, etc. Which doesn't mean that our company in France or in Europe are not doing that. They just simply forget that it's important to build a story around that. And as you know, I mean, the company in USA are very bullish, so they know how to say, hey guys, we are the first one because we've done that, by that, etc. And it's part also of how they gain market share. So we need to think about that, because when we work with lots of European companies, and you will be amazed to know how deep they are working already with some startups. But they just don't mention it. They don't say it. They don't promote it. So we think that, yeah, I mean, big companies in France, in Germany, or in England, in the past, we're not that close to startup, which is completely wrong. So we need to also keep that in mind. And by the way, to come back on one of the topics this morning was how to beat US. Being bullish, guys, you need to promote what you are doing, because that's part of what they are doing very aggressively and strongly. And they just learned from the kindergarten how to say, I'm the best of the world. And we need to know how to say that. I mean, we have the biggest market, 500 million consumers in Europe. Okay, one of the best engineers. So let's just make it.
440.
Okay. Yes. I want to mention something, because I mentioned that we have these large pilots funded by the Commission. We spend about more than 150 million at the moment on these large projects. About 20% of the budget is flexible. So we know for this large project, it's most likely big companies leading the projects, because we have the bureaucracy and all that. So, but with the 20% flexibility, we want to make the opportunity that the big companies are able to work with small ones. So these projects launch open calls, particularly for SMEs and startups, to come up with their ideas and to foster their collaboration. So it's a flexible target, it's an ongoing and open course, and it's we're moving along. So we need to count on that.
Okay.
And through the same idea is carried out through the French Tech Initiative, which was launched a few years ago. There is a booth there held by Business France. The idea is it's very focused on startup developments and the tools which they have this. And there is a special focus inside the French Tech Initiative on cooperation between big companies and startups. So it adds to all the other initiatives.
Okay, thank you. So, are there any questions from the public? Okay.
Thank you. So I want to ask a question. Imagine that you quit your job tomorrow, and would you start a company dealing with IoT? And if so, what is your first week going to look like as a startup?
That's a good question.
So, who is answering?
Okay. Let's imagine I lose my job. Well, I don't think that I will start a startup on IoT. I will start a startup on a special process, on a special offer. But behind it will be a bunch of technologies which will have to be involved. So I would not market it as a startup on IoT, but rather focus on business for the customer.
What about Central Europeans? Are they thinking about to leave their well-paid jobs in corporations or try to swim in a non-export water? Do you have any ideas about that? I'm not sure whether your jobs are well paid, but I suppose.
I'm in a lucky position because the flow of projects brings enough excitement anyway from day to day. But IoT in itself is not a selling point nowadays. So if I founded a company, I wouldn't use in advertising it as an Internet of Things company because people don't really understand what that is good for. Actually, we joined a project Germany for Industry 4.0, and we had a careful evaluation when to take this step. And we think that the solutions are already present, that no basic development has to be performed. We only have to use applied research and experimental development in this, because there are three categories for research and development. And that is when companies that want to implement things have to come on stage. So I wouldn't recommend it. Not now. Well, it will come, because information sharing is in progress. And I think it will be a selling point.
Maybe one question, is Industry 4.0 so different from IoT? Or is it just a very good marketing term which went worldwide?
Well, Industry 4.0 is an initiative by the German government who seeing this complexity of this ecosystem emerging. They decided to have this as a guideline. And since people need names, and they decided for Industry 4.0, I keep receiving questions, what is 4.0? Why is it good for us? Is it a threat? Is it an advantage or whatever? It's very
4.0 already.
It's very funny because I spent last week together with the owner of a company of 450 people having a lot of injection molding machines, and he kept asking me, what is this 4.0? And we sat down and asked him point by point what decision they took in the last 2 months. And it turned out that actually they had all the decisions simply by common sense, that they brought the systems in that they needed, all the development, without actually knowing Industry 4.0 as a whole. So if you listen to your common sense, you can make very good decisions. But Industry 4.0 involves a lot of partners. It creates usable things. And companies like Bosch and Continental already have pilot projects running, and they are live. So,
But all that is what IoT is about. Because Bosch eternally calls that IoT, not Industry 4.0.
well, yeah, that's also happens. But their catalog has Industry 4.0 written on it.
Okay, so it's kind of a terminological fight probably like in the future. I mean,
Well,
they are not when I created my first company, I did not call it startup, and after 10 years after, I found out that it was a technological startup, so terminology is not the most important.
Yeah, but maybe that's a message for the V4 Connect to come up with a story, with a marketing initiative of your good stuff, to bring your stuff together and come up with sort of a strategy to get to the awareness of the other company.
We could make use of that we are already in V4.0. Good. So are there any other questions from the public? No, so we used the Slovak technology Slido, which was very successful in moderating also the discussion. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you very much for the panelists. I hope that it was a good time for you to spend here, and I hope that there are going to be some further discussions in the future to connect the V4.0 to France or the European Union and such. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.